Hello, it's me once again. If you've seen part one, under the Olympics iceberg explaining, yeah, you, it's already been tense already, but now let's carry on with part two, shall we? Yeah, let's get started. This was on two of them all the way because I should already know. First one's Afghanistan ban. Yeah, it's really talk about 2000 Olympics. Afghanistan's never gonna debut. We never found out. Is it Sydney 2000 or Atlanta Centennial Games? Between those two is good. Makes sense to you, but it's kind of related towards. Well, get ready to say this because you're gonna see this right now with the threat for Paris 2024 right away. Yes, Afghanistan back in 2000 is led by now it's government, the Taliban. Yep, the Taliban led by Mohammed Omar. It did end up held controls the country at the time, Afghanistan. This is like a full year before 9/11 happens and the United States made an invasion in Afghanistan, because of Osama bin Laden, 9/11 some sort. Yeah, you can see why. But Afghanistan was not allowed to compete in any Olympics against the Taliban. It's not until the United States invasion and overthrown the Taliban, thanks to the Battle of Kabul back in 2001, made the Taliban lost. And at the time, it brought Afghanistan back for the 2004 games in Athens. Yep, you can see why. And next one is, this again, I hate this, and I hate to talk about this. The most infamous 1904 St. Louis Marathon. This again. Here's a long story for this for sure. The 1904 St. Louis Marathon is the worst marathon in Olympics history. Yeah, yeah. Here's a long story, and I'm not gonna give too much detail because I might let everyone else research that for yourself. Here it is. The 1904 Olympic marathon is the first marathon that made the Olympics. It is so bad. Here's the thing right now. There's so many details of what's going on in this one, but then they only tell you most of it. During it and even the ending, so then makes you kind of cringe for real. Here it is. It is so hot in humidity, and that's why I'm being a meteorologist and it's my career and my future. That makes sense. Here it is. The heat from how hot the temperatures in St. Louis at the time, the 90s, 100s back in 1904, plus the humidity came from the Mississippi River, which is right on close to the Mississippi River, brings the temperatures in the St. Louis so hot. During the marathon in 1904, because the games were held in St. Louis at the time, it was so hot people was like dropping out of the race and pass out or some sort. And one guy that ate something but edibles that found out was rotten and caused him to pass out. It's until not in the fish with a guy finding fish into the drink cities of the fathers of making some type of freaking Powerade or some sort. I found out that's some type of random liquid with strychnine in it, which and then I found out that was rat poison. He drank rat poison right at the feet, and he won the gold medal, and he passed out. And you can tell your kids, don't drink strychnine, or you're gonna pass out at your ran a marathon. Found out in a hard place. Let's get into the research things that I might do not know about, but let's get into it. First one is Roy Jones Jr. versus Park Sai Han, whatever that was. I think it's believed best back in the most brutalist boxing match back in Seoul 1988 at the time, I know it was. Yep. It's Seoul 1988, the boxing finals. It was the most brutalist boxing they ever seen in the Olympics. In the sense that other ones have seen worse than that. And I found out, yep, Of course, the gold medal gives. Yeah, there's also the mistake in the medal, so controversial boxing of some sort. It was brutal, but it was accidentally gave to Roy Jones Jr. the gold, and I found out the real gold medal is Park Sai-han. Yep, the coach, the refugee, did I say refugee? I mean referee, made a mistake on announcing real gold medalist of some sort. Well, it was the other misplaced in the ref's part or the official's part. So yeah, even when you watch more details, please watch it yourself in the documentary to know what I mean. It was a huge scandal in the Olympics at the time, and then see why. This is an official's error in their part. Next one is the most infamous 1972 Olympic men's basketball final, the USA against Soviet Union. But the iceberg says Soviet basketball gold 1972. They called it. Yep, they talk about that. It is so controversial because when I found out, here's a little backstory about this. I'm not saying a lot of detail because a lot of people will not know about this. Well, I found out back in 1972, which is in Munich, and USA against USSR, aka Soviet Union, if it's known as a lot of people know. Yeah, United States thought they won the gold and even got to the stop there. Before they celebrate, the game have a timeout right at the 0:00 minute. The game just ended and they got called a timeout by the Soviet Union. You did what it is? They hijacked the clock, set 2 seconds back to allow the Soviets to get one shot in, and they won the gold away from Team USA. It is the most controversial basketball event in Olympic history. It's kind of unnecessary. The U.S. should have won the gold, but they got it away at this one. It's not until the Dream Team 1992 to finally get USA back the gold. And also, I've won game in 1994 in Los Angeles. Is when it got back to the way it was, and it is at that point. It's not until 1992 that they finally get the best back, and it once was. Yep, that's kind of makes sense. Next up is the Beijing Olympics displacement. Well, I hate to see it happen twice, and I believe. First displacement in the 2008, the people were forced out of their homes to build little big venues by the Beijing government or Chinese government at the time because they just want to make room for the venues. And I found out it happened again back earlier this year in Beijing 2022. People were forced out of their homes again, being displaced to build like another Olympic village. I'm trying to say. Yes, and this is like why the Olympics in China is unfair. Let's see why. I had to butcher this because he's Turkish. It is Naum Shumensky Glue. I cannot pronounce. Sorry about that. He won so many records in weightlifting and of some sort. But I think the opponent of Iceberg is in 1888. That is one of his greatest wins that they get at his time. Here it is. He was born in Bulgaria, but he's related to Turkish parents, so it's technically Turkish, well, Bulgarian Turk, and that makes sense. But because he's retained his Turkish citizenship, he's represent Turkey. But here's this. He was he's preferred to be a pocket Hercules, and he ended up lifted. Get ready to say it. 190 kilograms of clean and jerk, 152 kilograms in snatch. He lifted a total of 392.5 kilograms, and that breaks the all-time world record to win the gold back in 1988, which is in Seoul. How impressive is that? Yeah, can you say? Yeah, my Medicine, Nick Little Sons of Parker Hercules? Next up is Anderson and Jonas Gymnastic Finish. This is back in LA 1984 marathon, and it was marked, I think it's marked as, I think the unforgettable marathon in Olympic history. What do you call that? So I found out, and I found out they're both women, which is kind of impressive. But they never found out it was a heartwarming thing, and I found out it makes sense. This makes sense. I figure, yeah. Oh yeah, and also this, yeah. And I found out heartwarming part is one moment is a Swiss, then I was a Kenyan, which makes sense. And I found out that gives you a moment, dude. And white people came to go really well with black people at the time in Olympics. You can see why. Any more details? Just watch it out. It's really heartwarming. Yeah, next one is intersex athletes. Yeah. LGBT at its finest. Here's the thing, intersex athletes are really just, well, transgender athletes within a man competing in women's sports. Yes, a transgender man competing in women's sports. That's all that is. So that's, which is causing issues with controversial athletes. I mean, barred the Olympics a couple times, and they're trying to let them in to this day. Which, if I let you know, it is nuts. Well, next up is the one posted. I think the fourth from the bottom now, I believe. Let's get a couple teams out of the way because I already know already. Well, the first one is the USSR against Hungary water polo match in 1956 in Melbourne. No one's blood in the pool. Yeah, and I found out it was the bloodiest match of all time in the Olympics. It is so bad. In the end, I've been watching this. Don't watch it at your own risk because this is. I had to make a hate this some sort. Yeah, mark it at your own risk, and it is at this point because it's extremely graphic, and I'm not in agreement with everyone in there. You cannot watch it with a full stomach. Really, I cannot say it at all. It is so graphic. What's going on there? We never. Here's the Hungarian. I think Hungarian rising revolution happened when the Socialist Republic of Hungarian whatever it is. So they just don't exist in the country. Yeah. Was during the rebel, they go through issues against the Soviets because of their communism, which makes sense. In this transition to the Olympics in 1956 when they faced against them. And it was a semi-final match. Yep, which the Huns won the gold at the time in water polo. At this point, it was so violent and so friggin' epic. One of the Soviet athletes really hit the Hungarian athletes into the eye so hard with the elbow, and it caused the eye area to bleed, and the blood goes into the pool. Marks it the blood in the pool match. It is so. Don't watch it with a full stomach. I just recommend you at that point. It was so bloody, so graphic. And I not recommend that watching in color. If you can see in black and white, it's just fine, but don't watch it with in color. Holy cow, that was bloody. Next up is South African boycott 1976. Well, it's kind of simple. All apartheid. Apartheid is the cause most of athletes in Africa have been boycotted against, which includes South Africa. racism relates to the apartheid. It relates to the time, and then it caused the issues in the IOC that caused the boycott. And the next one is the Centurion Olympic Park attack. Yeah, you can. I will talk about later about the Munich issue as well. There's a St. Terence attack there. I found that in 1996, Atlanta, hosting the Olympics at the time, held the Centurion Olympic Games. It was a Greece Olympics all time, and to show the main history Olympics in the last 100 years. It right before the Olympics start, a huge attack happened, a lone dog attack. The one guy, really watch and see who was, but in this one, attack shocked the world. It was like a bomb underneath his bench, right in the middle of Centennial Olympic Park. And the some sort created an attack. It was all over the news back in 1996 because of this. Because it comes days and weeks before the Olympics started in Atlanta, which makes sense. Let's get into the research and see what that comes out there. First one is strange as this is on the iceberg, but here it is. First one is known as Villa Autodromo. Strange this is on the iceberg, but I'm behind the scene. Let's talk about some, technically villas and so right on the edge of the Rio Olympic Park. And so the found out it was demoed. As it caused displacement of people at the time. It looks like it's known as a farmer parishes, which is some sort. They planned it in a demo later of some sort that found out they did get rid of it because of displacement of people. It was horrible, and I can say it once per all. Next one is when Angelo Matos band, and I found out this is talking about Matos' band is kind of related to him just kicking the referee back in Beijing 2008, which is against the rules in Taekwondo. Yep. In Taekwondo, you're limited to a kick of some sort of in some air or some sort of doing some cool moves. I found out one kick extra kicked the referee, which is against the rules, and he got banned because of that. And it's even worse, he was disqualified in the bronze medal match. How about, like I said, if we do Taekwondo, don't kick everyone. That's a nice kind of thing to do. Next up is Corey Stoggs gold medal. What it is an iceberg. Yeah, I found out she's part of the Magnificent Seven, part of Team USA. Back in USA's hosting Olympics in 1996 Atlanta. And I found out the proof for this, she got unforgettable determination inside the Olympics. It is so good, and she got the gold because of that. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I found out on the iceberg, it says, Candace China's first Olympics. And I don't know what I think they meant the first Olympics ever was in, I found out the first thing is in 1952 Helsinki at the time. And I found out they talking about the first Olympics by People's Republic of China. Here's the thing right now. The first couple of Olympics since 1924 was held by Republic of China. And now since the UN changes the recognitions from Republic of China to People's Republic of China because the Taiwan was so small and the mainland is now Communist China, they transfer into it. A lot of people in Republic of China were pissed off when they had transferred some sort. It can't be an athletes anymore. I think it's a lot of Communist China because of the influence of the Civil War. But they end up because of how controversial it is. this going up to this day. Republican China did came back because of Mao's One China policy. The rename is Chinese Taipei. Uh, Olympics, please let them be Republic China back. I don't like the name of Chinese Taipei. Next up is kind of the most strangest athletes in the NFL now. Yes, Princess Anne. If you don't know, what's that all about for the Olympics? Princess Anne was part of the Christian athlete back in 1976 Olympics in Montreal. And I found out, yes, she's part of the royal family as an athlete for Olympics. How about that? Part of the British Olympic team. And hell makes sense. Because, if you know already, she rode a horse named Goodwill in competing in Montreal as an athlete. So, well, kind of the same one now. King Charles, or whatever the monarch is now. If we're looking in history files in in uh in photo albums again, you should see the Princess Anne riding the horse in Montreal, because she was an athlete in the Olympics at the time. Yeah, this is the only time the British royal family did compete as an athlete for Olympics. Well, which, yeah, which I kind of say one now. How cool do they have a person in the royal family, a king or a queen or princess or prince as an athlete? Yeah, it's kind of nice to have. Yeah, well, this is not gonna happen anymore because they switched different careers. But still, just saying one now. It's pretty nice. Well, that's it for now. See you at part 3. Is really to get into the mostly juicy part of the bomb there.